Thank you. I have to say to Sachs, hey, Michael, the check's in the mail for that, so thank you for that. After listening to that, you kind of wish your parents were here. Because your mother would be proud and your father would be amazed. Speaking of that, I learned tonight the difference between the child of an Indian family and the Jewish child of a Jewish family. One, you bring your parents to the dinner. The second, I would never let my parents at this dinner. A Jewish mother would ask for 5 minutes of rebuttal time to this speech. Your mother sit there and gloat at your comments. My mother would like to say, can I have a word afterwards that I would like to say something? I'd also like to note, having listened to that, I started my career professionally. I was 6'2" and 300 pounds, and this is what I got left. I'm 148 dripping wet. So it's been a great honor to serve as the U.S. ambassador at this critical time in this moment, representing the country in Japan. I will also say that, when I was confirmed in the United States Senate, I said that the next 3 years will be foundational for the next 30 years. The truth is, I thought it was a pithy quote. Hopefully, it would mean something. I didn't know it would be prescient, but more importantly, for the Japanese, the last 3 years have felt like 30 years while I've been there. And they are, you got that, it's a slow rip that it goes through there. But before I go on to my remarks, I do want to say to Ivo, after what Michael said about mine, we are lucky that Ivo and the Dodler family made Chicago home. They have put the council on the map. While I am a voracious reader of data and public opinion, I am a voracious reader of their annual survey on public opinion on foreign affairs, both here but also across the globe, and it's essential. If you're going to do foreign policy, if you're going to do national security, which I happen to think is just another chess level of politics, knowing where the public is essential and very, very important. Michael mentioned the modernization. I do think in a capture, the way to think about the last 3 years in U.S.-Japan alliances, we've gone from alliance protection to alliance projection. And Japan has become a full partner, and the United States a full partner in projecting into the region that alliance. And one of the things I'm most proud of, and there's a number of things, and for different reasons proud of, is building the trilateral alliances between the United States, Japan, and Korea, United States, Japan, and the Philippines. Things that 3 years ago did not exist. 3 years ago, you could not have thought was possible, seizing the political moment. But I'm also personally interested in it because in this very particular dark time where you have two wars, one in the Middle East, one on the European continent, what President Biden showed at Camp David in August of 2023, and I think we can all be honest in this room, the United States relationship, especially here 2 days after, it's going to be December, the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. You also have the anniversaries of the Korean War. You have also the anniversaries of World War II. The United States, Japan, the United States, Korea, the Japan-Korea relationships are complicated, to say the least, with a lot of history. What Camp David showed in a time where war, belligerence, conflict seems to be the only tool, that there's a place for diplomacy and dialogue, where two countries, the United States and Japan, can go from the bitterest of foes to the best of friends. That today that alliance is the most important relationship the United States has, not just in the Indo-Pacific, but to quote Prime Minister Kishida, we are global partners. Building something that I think is essential as we deter a bellicose and belligerent China. Now, we're at a period of time, there's a transition in obviously our administration. I hate using sports metaphors when you're talking about foreign policy, but the Indo-Pacific for the United States is an away game. It's a home game for China. And if you want to make it a home game, you're not doing it without your allies. And every time we invest in our alliances and every time we invest in our allies, our deterrence grows stronger. China is a country that is isolated and isolates itself. The worst day they have is when they see what we're building with other countries in the region who want to be part of America. Now, I wasn't going to say this, but Ivo had brought up the subject about the change in public opinion about America's role in the world. Now, I've done a lot when I was there, but you know, being away from America, you learn a lot about America. You get a perspective, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I will say this, having been away, there's a lot of strengths that America has that sometimes we don't see. And by one of example, we take it, we say lip service is the most entrepreneurial economy, the ecosystem that we have around our entrepreneurial society. It is really unique and distinct. It doesn't exist anywhere else. The taking of risk, the ability to build an economy, the build a business is really a distinct American virtue. Our job now is to make sure other people in this country have a chance to actually be part of that. That it can't be an exclusive effort, it's got to be an inclusive effort. But the other piece that I would say is we can't lose sight of one other thing. People will cross, sacrifice, just like my colleague's family, just like my grandfather and my father, to come to this country. People are fleeing Beijing and Shanghai. They are fleeing Moscow, they are fleeing Tehran, they are fleeing Caracas. Freedom is a seductive virtue, and people will sacrifice, leave their home to be part of something to give their children a better tomorrow, and that's this country. They leave their families, they leave the ones they love, because they think America is where their children have a tomorrow. And that takes me back to why there's a break in our country with America's role in the world. Because the fact is, not every American feels that. There is nothing I see in the Indo-Pacific, nothing I see China doing that scares me when America's got its game. What I see in America scares me. I wrote about this in the Washington Post. One of the first things I did when I was ambassador, I went to the bowels of the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. They had known that when I was mayor, I used to do every month swear in new citizens to become citizens of the United States in the city council. So I went, and there were 17 people from 11 countries, 3 continents, who, in front of their families, in front of their fellow sailors, became American citizens, and they earned it by serving their country, America. And they weren't Americans when they did it, but they earned it. And I saw this incredible diversity that and I'm living in a homogeneous society where 99.2% of the people are one type. And I live in a city where 147 languages are spoken in our public schools. But because of the foundation, the adhesive tissue that brought people together on the USS Abraham Lincoln, you saw the unity and the common beliefs, that foundation, to allow that diversity to become a strength, not a liability. And that is what we need to create in this country. And I can say to you, when you look back at the United States, every period of great growth, every great period of unity, every great period where America surges forward is when we've made major investments in our education. Whether it was the land-grant colleges in the bowels of the Civil War, whether it was the GI Bill before the World War II ended, whether it was making high school education universal, we found a way through education where everybody had a chance of tomorrow. And it's not an accident to me that the American people have lost faith with America's place in the world, because America lost faith with the American people. And we have an obligation to turn around the perception today in this country, where for the first time in our history, where people think their children will not have the same future that they had and not better. And if we invest in America, give people that sense that tomorrow will be better than today, I'm not worried about America's place in the world, because around the world, people bet long on America. They will do and follow us at Camp David. They will sign up for alliances and partnerships with this country because for all our flaws, and we're not perfect, we're a work in progress, we are a better bet than Russia, China, Iran, or Venezuela. We have our flaws, we have made our mistakes, and we should own them. But when you look at what has happened and what is happening to Ukraine in direct violation of the United Nations Charter, which Russia is a signatory to, you look at the violation of ceasefires, where children and women are raped and killed. For all our problems, we're not perfect. We have walked away sometimes from our greatest ideals. America still stands up as a place where tomorrow can be better than today. And if we keep our faith with the American people, people around the world will keep faith with the United States. And I am honored that I have had the opportunity to earn the respect and the honor and the confidence of 3 presidents. For Amy and I, this has been, and as I said to President Biden when we came home for the state visit, he said, "I want to thank you." I said, "Don't thank me, I got to thank you." The honor to serve the country, I've had the opportunity to learn something I never knew about. I've had the ability to be called a diplomat and laugh internally. You couldn't look up the word. I said this to Hillary Clinton in 1992 in Little Rock. If you said diplomat and Rahm Emanuel, trust me, they were not in the same sentence, and you couldn't find it on Google. But the opportunity to learn something totally new, to contribute, to continue to build something, and to do it in a sense where America can not only, I think, help preserve the peace in an important part of the world, but also show in so many different ways what America truly is and capable of doing. The good news, in 6 weeks, we'll be able to come home. While Tokyo for the last 3 years has been my home, Chicago is the home and captures my heart. And I want to look forward very much to be here. But I also want to close by saying one thing to the people of Japan. We've been very fortunate. They have opened their homes. They have opened their hearts to Amy and I. And we came, we saw, and we fell in love. It's a wonderful country. And to all of you that have come to visit, my house is not an Airbnb. It's the ambassador's house. I'm a guest there, just like you. Please take your stuff out of the house that you've left in the closets there. Thank you very much for this honor.